like a college admissions counselor. To do in high school, like what's your favorite subject, what might you want to do in the future, and how can you, find a college in the U.S. that helps get you there.
So you don't work for a specific college, you work as like for a company?
Right, it's a third-party company. It's like an agent in a way. Mm-hmm. We help them to sort of make that transition, and we help them to go through the application process and stuff like that. So that's one thing that I'm doing, and then I'm also starting a company here as well on the side that helps entrepreneurs connect with other entrepreneurs who are like a few steps ahead of them to create like mentor relationships. So basically to help entrepreneurs connect with a mentor who can help their company to grow. And then we also do that, of course, we do that for the high school students as well, especially for students who apply to business schools to help them like with entrepreneurship, start a company in high school that can help them both to sort of develop their own skills and then also to be more competitive when they apply to college. So this will allow you to like take steps towards the future. Like, like for example, Krista, if you really like skincare, you really like these types of things, but you have this other desire or at least this other obligation, maybe your expectation to be an engineer, like there's always a way to bring it together, and there's always a way to like make these connections. And like and Steve Jobs said that like creativity is just about making connections. So like that's I think a really great simple advice.
Yeah, he's reading that.
Actually read it before it came down.
Yeah. Another great quote from Steve Jobs is something that's like, the only thing that separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. So that's the other thing to just push forward.
You should get Jack Ma.
I'm working on it. Here's my connection to Jack Ma. Okay, so a really close friend of mine who I met when I was in college is from Fujian province. Okay, Fujian province, and so there's also like depending on what city you're from, there's these different like networks of it's called 民间贷款 or like 民间. So basically it's like folk loans. Basically it's like a bad way to translate it. But anyway, it's like people who lend each other money when they're from the same city. Okay. So one of my really close friends, right, his aunt, okay, from Fujian, now works at Tengxun, with Tencent, the company that owns WeChat, right? And that's in Hangzhou, right, in Zhejiang. So when you're a business person in Zhejiang, you can join something called Shanghai, which is like it's like the Chamber of Commerce for that province, okay? And that includes like Hangzhou, where all like all the billionaires and millionaires are all there, and they're all a part of this Shanghai, and they have like a bank. It's like a special bank. Anyway, that's my connection. That's my connection to Jack Ma because he's in Shanghai. So so my friends, aunts, business association with Jack Ma. Wow. But if you approach, like when you meet a new person, if you approach it from the perspective of like, let's see how we connect here. Like, let's see what's interesting about this person, what's different about us that's like really, sparks my imagination, or what can I offer to this person that sparks their imagination. Then, as long as like you become friends, like you have this relationship, you make these connections in your brain. 6 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, like you can come back and like, okay, oh wow, I just thought of something like this person could be such a cool connection, or like this person could help out, or like I could, or this person might come to me with this really cool idea that I can help them with, and in the end, like you've created something really amazing. The difference between like English and Chinese, which I think has like a lot of parallels to the difference in like English, U.S. culture and Chinese culture, but then also is like a mindset that can be applied to any situation. And basically what it is that in Chinese, like to really be fluent in the language, and even for people who are native Chinese speakers, like two native Chinese speakers, you have to approach a situation from the same type of mindset, from the same type of like way of thinking, like you have to have the same type of feeling, come to an agreement about what it is that you're talking about before the words that you say actually make sense to each other and it can be like understood in the same way. And I think that's something that, like a very contextually based kind of a mindset, or like kind of an idea, that is something that's also very true about Chinese culture, like seeing things in context, like you have to understand what's around something before you can understand the thing itself. And I think that's somewhat different from the way that like US culture really strives to be, like where everything can sort of stand on its own, right? So like I write a sentence and this sentence can stand on its own and every single person who reads it will see the exact same thing. In Chinese, it's very different. You have a sentence and every single person who reads it might have a different idea about it, right? Unless you're coming from the same mindset. So that's why this idea of the connections in Chinese and relationships in Chinese culture is so important, because you come from it at the same, from the same angle, right? But I think that's like an idea that you can take anywhere in life, like this whole concept that there's one thing, one situation or one idea, and different people will have a different idea about that, or a different way of thinking about it, or a different, reaction to it. And I think even just like that concept and that understanding is a really great starting point to move forward, like to make things happen for yourself, like to, help other people, right? Like I think just like managing expectations about, when you want to cooperate with another person, right? Like making sure that like your expectations are in the right place, or that even you approach a situation without expectations, so that you're sort of able to meet in the same place, right? So I think that's just like a good place to start, and that's something that I learned from studying Chinese, that sort of goes a little bit beyond like the language itself and into the culture that the language exists in. And I think that's something that like I would challenge all of you guys to try and do as well, like with your language learning, is to look at like the culture as well, and what it is like behind the words that you're studying, For example, like these different ideas where it basically says that anything that happens over here on this side of the universe has a reaction over here. And so like there's this concept now, and something that they're trying to do with computer science too, is to basically use these particles where they bring two particles together, okay, and then it creates a type of relationship. And then you can split the particles and you can send it literally anywhere in the universe, okay? And then what happens here will be reacted in the other particle. So that's the exact same concept of what this is talking about in I Ching with like Tai Chi, right? So that anything that happens has this other part to it, right? So like essentially that, it's an entire system, right? That's expanding and it's contracting, right? And everything within that system is both a part of the whole system and a reflection of that as well, right? In a micro form. So like it's these layers of like a micro coming into the macro, which is, it's all the same. That's yin yang, that's Tai Chi. That's like, so like Tai Chi and then in yin yang and then Si Xiang and Ba Guai and all that. It comes down in these layers, and you see that in physics too.
Well, you see that.
另外还有一个女生就叫那个毕文山嘛，她
她在那个上海纽约大学。
纽约大学，对，她跟我讲你们见过面了啊。
对。其实因为我现在在创业中，然后我也是跟纽约大学合作的。
有合作项目啊，那太好了。
所以也是
在这边搞什么？
现在我们是做一个，我们给早期就是刚起步的创业者，帮他们找到导师。所以我们现在重点的是国外的创业者，他们想来中国就用这个市场。
咨询公司一样。
差不多了，但是我们不是提供咨询的，我们是帮他们联系到能够
中介
提供
中介算是，
然后
人家猎头，你是猎公司，
那个
是的，
找人才是猎头，
对，我们是差不多的，但是因为我们就是我的就有关系的是国外的创业者，所以他们想来这边，大多数的人都想来中国的，所以就给他们提供这些咨询的帮助。
公司欢迎到常州来创业，因为我们那挺不错的，小城市比上海太挤了，
是很挤的。